Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Podcast Wrestling Extra on the Podcast Wrestling Society. First, on his way to the microphone, I am your loving leader, benevolent host, and Midwest monster, Troy Adams. And my co-host, he is the master of the testicular claw. He has seen professional wrestling in venues all across the United States, and even in California. He is Greg. What up, Greg?
What up?
I got the inspiration for the California thing was off of The Simpsons, where Homer was trying to vote and it kept changing his vote, and he's like, "This can't happen in America. Maybe in Ohio, but never in America." I'm like, what the F? Like, why Ohio? We have an interesting show for you today. I know I say that every day. I mean, we have interesting shows for you all the time, I guess. It is the greatest show in the history of our great sport, as Tony Schiavone would say. We're going to be beating up on a man who's been beaten up on countless times by multiple wrestling fans, whether you like the new stuff or the old stuff, or you just vaguely know who this guy is. We're going to be crapping on Vince Russo. How about that?
I don't know if I want to do this.
Oh, yeah, because you might get backlash for beating up on this guy.
Well, I did when I slammed Knuckle Dave on Twitter.
Well, oh, you're talking...
We'll get to later.
Yeah, well, Dave, yes. Vince, not so much. But that's part 2 of this podcast. Let me kind of go into an explanation. It's not just a generic rant about Vince Russo like we have had in the past. Go check the archives. I will be uploading it onto YouTube hopefully soon. But this is specifically about Vince Russo was booked for the All In festivities on All In weekend, and then he was swiftly unbooked. Cody Rhodes tweeted, "We do not reward bad behavior. Stay away from my event." And then he called Vince a homophobe and a racist and a sexist, and Vince went on a 40-minute Twitch rant. It was hard to listen to, but I did it.
But you somehow did it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I feel like I need a lobotomy afterwards, but whatever. But we will be beating up on him for some of the just ridiculous crap that he said in that 40 minutes. Just some of it. And then part 2, Eric Bischoff on his podcast, 83 Weeks, recently did an episode, last week's episode. It was on Bret Hart coming to WCW. And some of the things he said in that podcast went against stuff that Dave Meltzer had previously printed in The Observer, which made Dave Meltzer have a conniption fit all over Twitter. Well, I printed off some of Dave's tweets, and we will be laughing at Uncle Dave yet again, because that's our favorite thing to do here on the Podcast Wrestling Society. I also have a couple generic tweets that I just found funny that Greg, for the record, Greg has never heard these before, and he hasn't read them yet. So, same thing with the Vince Russo thing. He hasn't heard it or seen anything other than, little highlights here and there.
Told me.
Right. I've only given you small highlights here and there, if you want to call them that. So, these are, first-time reactions to hearing this crap. So, you ready to dive in here, Greg?
Let's do it, bro.
All right, Samoa bro. All right. I left that one off the list, bro. Let's just start from the beginning here. He starts off by going on about his parents and how his parents raised him, bro. And he says that by Cody Rhodes calling him a homophobe, a racist, and a sexist, he's insinuating that, or he's insulting Vince's parents because now Cody is saying that's how his parents raised him. So he's insulting his parents and their parenting abilities.
Oh, man.
It just, wow. That is like the weakest thing ever. It's like, whoa, you're not just insulting me, you're insulting my family. It's like, no, just you. There have been psycho serial killers that have been raised by wonderful people. So I'm just putting that out there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not comparing Vince Russo to a psycho serial killer. I'm just saying in an extreme circumstance, so it just because you are the way you are, that's not a reflection on your parents all the time. So that's just a stupid whatever. He's trying to make it more personal than it is. Here's the thing. He says that he can't possibly be a homophobe because he didn't even know what gay was as a child. Apparently, that's a defense. And he said that he grew up across the street from two gay guys who he didn't even know were gay growing up, by the way. And he loved them. He hung out with them all the time. They took him to the movies even and stuff like that. And then when one of them died from AIDS, it, quote, ripped his heart out. Okay. And then he says he also can't be homophobic because he once had a transgender wrestler who was transitioning from male to female come out as a transgender on his now defunct podcast. He then proceeded to name every single gay and transgender person he's ever known. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
It went
What does this
on.
have to do with not... Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's... Whoa, man, I can't be racist. I know a black guy.
I'm not racist. My best friend's black.
Yeah,
That's the old classic one.
Yeah, I love that defense. Whoa, man, I'm not sexist. I'm married to a woman. All right?
Yeah.
Also, he says...
Side note on that, by the way, it's like, I'm not racist. My best friend's black. You do know there's like a billion races out there, right? Why is that the one? I'm not racist. My best friend's Japanese. I mean...
okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and then he covers the race thing.
Defense.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't make any sense. It also, here's another thing. He says, I don't think Cody called him anti-Semitic. He might have, but he claims that he's being called anti-Semitic. I don't know why, but maybe he is. I don't know. But he says he can't possibly be anti-Semitic because he had a Jewish friend growing up, and he even attended his bar mitzvah. Same defense as the gay thing. I can't hate gay people. I know gay people. What the hell?
Oh, my God.
It's the lamest defense in the history of everything ever. Oh, my gosh.
Man.
He says, this is how he says things went down. He says, someone heavily involved with All In, contacted him. He wouldn't say the person's name, so for all we know, this could be completely made up.
I doubt that.
Yeah. Oh, no, never. He says someone heavily involved with All In contacted him and asked him to cut a promo at the All In event and cut a promo on all the marks. And then Vince agreed to do it. Then, when Cody Rhodes found out, he said, Vince Russo, really? Matt and Nick, the Young Bucks, won't like that. And then he swiftly unbooked Vince Russo in about 36 hours.
Oh.
Yeah. He cuts promos on, quote, the marks all the time, who, let's face it, it's going to be a bunch of, quote, the marks that are going to be at All In. And
a bunch. I think 9,999. And then there's that one guy.
Yeah, the one guy who is curious about what this is all about. But yeah, if Jim Cornette was talking about this. He was like, I also cut promos on my podcast on all those, on the talent and the people, whatever. He was like, I'm not going to be welcomed at that event by those fans. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. Why the hell would he? He was like, I don't like to book myself in places where I'm not welcome. But apparently Vince Russo doesn't have that same, sense about him.
Why would he?
He doesn't have any damn sense at all. Apparently, it's the way it seems. Good grief. But yeah, it continues, unfortunately. Well, he says that he was going to show up at the event, cut a promo on all the marks, and, be like super over at the event, whatever. And he was going to be a big part of the All In event, and he was going to, quote, save the wrestling business by making it feel real again. When I think of...
thank God we have Vince Russo.
Right? When I think of people who could possibly save the wrestling business, I think, people like Triple H or, the new president of New Japan, perhaps, or, Vince Russo. He's at the top of the list, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Whatever.
I said sarcasm. I don't know why, but...
I know we're going to talk about Bret later with the Meltzer and Eric Bischoff stuff, and we talked about this earlier, but by God, as much as Bret Hart strokes his own ego, mother of God, like, he's going to save the wrestling business with a promo at All In. Okay.
Well, it doesn't really matter. The wrestling business is going to be saved, by...
I know what you're going to say, by freaking HCW, yeah. And a certain Daytonian.
Yeah, Dayton.
Wow. Along with that, further stroking his ego, he told Cody Rhodes, "You drew 10,000 people? Well, I've drawn 10 million people."
Yeah. Again, he thinks he's the Pope now.
Yeah, he says that his writing in WWF and WCW is what drew the crowds. Not the star power, not the matches, his writing.
First of all, it was basically Austin and The Rock and DX. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not going to play Dave Meltzer and pretend I know it all, but I'm pretty sure when he was in WCW, it started tanking.
Yeah.
I bet you they would draw 10 million people combined in his entire run.
Oh, man. I find it fascinating that he's like, no, screw Rock, screw Austin, screw Taker, screw Macho Man and Hulk Hogan and all that people. No, I drew those crowds, bro. Me with my notebook full of, chicken scratch writing.
Yeah, he's got a notebook with chicken scratch writing and probably a Portal magazine. He's a freaking pervert.
Yeah, that was another thing. For being a born-again Christian and all that stuff, he sure did swear a lot and use his middle fingers quite a bit in this rant.
Yep.
And he says in this rant, by the way, he said, "I'm not going to go off on Cody Rhodes and get hot and insult him."
Yeah.
And then he turns...
It's actually been given away that he was going to do all that.
And then he turns right around and he calls him a punk and a mark. And then he flipped off the camera repeatedly and said, "That was for you." Oh, my gosh.
Did Cody Rhodes touch him or something? Or?
I don't flippin' know. He said, and he kept saying, "Congratulations, the marks are in the ring now," referring to Cody and the Bucks. And it's like, technically... yeah, but at the same time, what about, like, a lot of the people in WWE that grew up watching WWE, like Bayley? That's her whole hook is... I was a WWE fan from birth and all this other stuff.
Well, they built that into a story, too, with Charlotte.
Yeah, so she's the mark that climbed into the ring, I guess? Whatever. Wow. And then he goes on a tangent about how today's wrestlers are unsafe in the ring, and they only work to get 5-star matches from Dave Meltzer. He references Johnny Gargano and people like that.
Yeah, because, Dave Meltzer is the guy. Oh, man, if I don't get a 5-star rating from him, I'm failing at my dream.
Yeah, there are people like, look at the Bucks who literally name their finishing move the Meltzer driver, And I guess, according to, and I've never seen this interview, and given the fact that he's in the WWE now, this would be very detrimental to his career. But Vince Russo claims that he saw Johnny Gargano in an interview say that he hopes that, like, seriously, that, he just wants to have a 5-star match, from Meltzer or something like that. And I'm like, are you sure he wasn't, like, jerking you around and, like, just kidding? Because why the hell would Johnny Gargano in the WWE say that? That makes no sense.
Well, he's had 2 in this year, so
yeah,
mission accomplished, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But then he repeatedly referenced Jay Lethal, which we covered on Monday. Jay Lethal, who recently got a concussion and lost his short-term memory for a while. Meltzer not Meltzer, jumping ahead a little bit. Russo kept repeatedly bringing this crap up through his rant, using this as like a thing and like jackhammering it in there wherever. And he'd be like, you want to call me a homophobe, bro, and a sexist and a racist, whatever? Well, at least I still got my short-term memory, bro. And at least I'm not getting my teeth kicked in, bro. I'm like, what does one have to do with the other? It's like, I can't be homophobic. I have my short-term memory. like, what?
Because that makes sense.
Yeah, and then he says that Cody Rhodes wants to call him a racist, a homophobe, a sexist, etc., because Russo cares too much about wrestlers and doesn't want to see them get hurt, which had absolutely zero to do with why Cody called him all of those things. Mother of God. It was an insane, rambling rant that went on for like 40 minutes.
And all because he's upset he was left out.
Yeah, he was pissy and crying and moaning and whatever.
Sounds like a teenager who didn't get invited to the party.
Yeah, I know. Well, when Impact got signed to a deal with Destination America, he sent the heads of Destination America emails basically saying, "Hey, you got sold a bill of goods. This is a worthless property. You need to hire me in to run this company for you." And then he did the same exact thing when they went to Pop TV.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how sad and pathetic this guy is. And
yeah. And I still love that he was like banned essentially from Spike TV.
Yeah, and then Dixie Carter, in her infinite wisdom, hired him behind their backs. This should tell you something.
For what? Who takes a shot out on him? Who risks their company on him?
Multiple shots on him. It's just, it can't be overstated how many times this weasel has gotten a job because an idiot was willing to hire him. He was on the WWE payroll for like 3 weeks in 2002 until they canned him again.
I don't know. I heard Jim Cornette say it was like 90 minutes.
No, because Bruce Pritchard was talking about he was hired and he came in for a whole week, and then the next 2 weeks he was sitting at home sending in ideas, and at the end of those next 2 weeks they were like, "Yeah, you're worthless. Bye."
You don't say.
Yeah, I know. Tell us something we didn't know. Oh my gosh. But anyway, that is the end of my spiel on Vince Russo. We're going to come back and talk about your favorite guy, Dave Meltzer, here in just a moment.
Yeah, my neighbor up the road.
Right? Yeah, your fellow Sharks fan.
Oh, man. Shut up.
Well, we're going to take
Don't remind me.
I know. We're going to take a quick break. When we come, let you know about one of the other awesome podcasts here on the Drama City Productions Network. When we come back, more talk about Uncle Dave.
Small Town Mentality Podcast with your host, Ben. A podcast about nothing and everything. A podcast where we get together with friends, drink beer, and see where the conversation takes us. We don't edit. We don't care what people say. It's small town people with a small town mentality. It gets offensive at times, lots of swearing, and a whole lot of not caring. Available everywhere you get podcasts. You can find us on Twitter at STMPod, on Instagram at STMPodcast, and on Facebook at Small Town Mentality Pod. We'll see you there.
And we are back to talk about your fellow Californian, your fellow brother from the Bay, Dave Meltzer, Uncle Dave.
The man I had my junk out next to.
Oh, yeah. And then you shook hands.
Hell no.
Wait, you shook your junk and then his hand. It was fantastic. All right, well, before we jump into the actual thing about him talking about the Eric Bischoff, Bret Hart debacle, Here are a couple tweets I thought you would find interesting. Somebody tweeted to him and said, "So what you're saying is that when Hulk Hogan said that the IWGP title was the most prestigious title in the world, he was talking about an indie title?" And Dave Meltzer replied and said, "He said what he thought that the guys paying him $125,000 a night would want him to say, and would help him get more paydays when the U.S. was in the toilet."
Wow.
I mean...
So he didn't actually deny it then?
That the IWGP title is an indie title? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be stupid to consider it an indie title. I mean, it kind of is. Well, my question is, if it is, what exactly qualifies as an indie promotion?
I mean, I'm just assuming something that's not, like, worldwide on TV every week.
Yeah. I mean...
At this point, indie is not WWE. I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Impact... Can Impact qualify as an indie?
Somewhat. I mean,
yeah.
The way they run things now, they don't even have any real, like, long-term talent. Everyone's leaving, and new people all the time. And
well, yeah, since the way they got their talent booked or whatever, I think they went back to, like, the old way that it was, like, years ago, back when, you know, they don't have anybody, like, exclusively signed to contracts. Because, yeah. I mean, look at Austin Aries. He's the belt collector right now. So,
yeah, I think he's the world champion, and he's competing for the Ring of Honor TV title.
Yeah, I know. So, there you go. I guess it does qualify as an indie. Here's a real good one. This is the last one I got here before we move on to the Bischoff Bret stuff. I'm not joking. This the guy who tweeted him, his name on Twitter is Hogan's Thermos.
Okay.
Do you get that?
That officially is funnier than... Wait, what am I missing?
In the Gawker lawsuit, for some reason, Hulk Hogan had to describe his penis in court, and he described it as the size of a thermos.
Wow.
You never heard that before?
No.
Yeah. I was like, okay, what thermoses are you referencing here? Because no, there's absolutely no humanly possible way. Like, you've got to be kidding. They should have made him drop trow and prove it, like, at that point. But yeah, that was in legal court depositions.
That's officially a funnier name than that Xbox username I found called Tickle Me Jewish.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That was awesome. Well, see, he can't be anti-Semitic because, you know, he went to a bar mitzvah once and he's got Jewish in his gamer tag, so whatever.
And he was tickled.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I don't know what they mean. Move on, please.
But he said, this guy tweeted Dave and he said, I guess he tagged him, and this is like a continuation off an earlier tweet, I guess. He said, "But stop calling him, Dave, a reporter or a journalist. It's a worked sport, remember? He's wrote a dirt sheet for a long time. There." And then Dave Meltzer said, "Read paragraph 2 and 3 here. Dirt sheet is a term guys still living in the 1980s use." And then he linked his Wikipedia page.
Wow.
Yeah.
That he probably edited.
Oh, I'm sure he did. Well, that's not accurate. That's not what it says in the Observer. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I said dirt sheet, and he said the same crap to me. Oh, everybody that uses the term dirt sheet is still living in the past. It's like, no, it's a dirt sheet by the very definition of the term dirt sheet. So, I'm not letting that one die.
At least you're not on your last chance with him. I only got one shot of redemption with him, dude. I'm screwed.
Oh, I know. I hope your last tweet was a good one.
Yeah, because he said it, man.
Yeah, you're about
shot of redemption.
You're about to be shut down. Well, I don't know. I mean, Twitter deleted that tweet, so maybe it's all like erased now.
You know what's funny, real quick, on that subject? If you go down, and yeah, I do follow him because it's ironically, I just like seeing his stupid crap. But like, there's so much stuff he replies to, and like, there's a thing that says tweet no longer available. I don't think I'm the only one, dude. Like, things are getting deleted left and right when people talk to him. If you ever get a chance, go look at it.
How much you want to bet?
Content no longer available or something like that. It clearly shows that the tweet's been deleted. That's what's up with mine.
Well, there's this one guy that I follow who he follows this other guy named JD something or other that's a huge mark, and this guy who, ironically enough, is named Mark, replies to him just to crap on the guy for being a huge smark. But the JD guy, I don't know who the hell he is, but apparently I pissed him off somewhere along the line, and I don't even know who the hell he is, because he blocked me on Twitter, because I can see...
Oh, God.
Yeah, I can see Mark's replies to this guy, but I can't see the original tweet. It always says content unavailable.
Can't you just look at his Twitter and log out of your account?
Perhaps. I don't know. I haven't really tried it.
Yeah, you can, as long as it's public.
Huh. Yeah, I haven't tried it, so I haven't really cared that much.
I think that's a loophole these morons don't realize. You can still see it.
Yeah, but this is, saying that I actually give a damn enough to do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, though.
Right. Well, let's move on to the subject at hand here. Well, before we're going to squeeze one more quick break in. When we come back, we're going to tell you about another great podcast here on the Drama City Productions Podcast Network. When we come back, we're going to talk Dave Meltzer on the whole Eric Bischoff, Bret Hart situation. We'll be right back.
Drama City Productions presents.
Hey, it's Ben here, host of the Regular Stories podcast, a podcast where I interview interesting people about their lives. These are not celebrities, they're not the elite. These are regular people, and these are their stories. You can follow us on Facebook at Regular Stories and on Instagram at Regular Stories. We are everywhere that you can get a podcast. We are on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, just about everywhere else. Look up Regular Stories Podcast.
And we are back. I've been listening to Eric Bischoff's new podcast, 83 Weeks, and I've loved it. And I'd buy the word of Eric Bischoff over most people about WCW. And, he ran WCW for, ever. So... and I think he knows a thing or two about the wrestling business, unlike Bret Hart thinks he does. But Eric Bischoff, Dave Meltzer just crapped all over him after his recent show about Bret Hart coming to WCW. Because in the podcast, Dave Meltzer says he did have a meeting with Bret Hart in 1996, but he did not offer Bret a contract. He said the closest to offering him anything he asked him, what'll it take to get you to come to WCW? And Bret threw out something, and he kind of was like, oh, okay, whatever. And that was about it. He said there was no contract offer made, but Dave Meltzer claims there was. And if Dave Meltzer says there was, then there was, by God. You know that, Greg.
Yeah.
That's
the gospel.
Somebody told Meltzer about this because apparently Meltzer doesn't listen to it. And Meltzer says, I'm genuinely stunned. When it comes to Monday Night War history, Eric is usually more honest than most of the con men characters who talk about that period. Con men characters, you talking like your buddy Brian Alvarez, who wrote The Death of WCW, which is apparently mostly bullcrap, according to Eric Bischoff?
Yep.
It's apparently such a bullcrap book that Bischoff says he won't even autograph it if somebody brings it up to him because he won't lend it any credibility. Oh, man, that's saying something. Somebody tweeted to him, says, not only did he deny it, he accused Bret of making the whole thing up and made it sound like it was a ridiculous notion. And he didn't have enough talent. Oh, I'm sorry. And he only wanted him in 1997 because Thunder was coming, and he didn't have enough talent. Dave Meltzer replied and said, if he actually said it like that, it's probably not even worth listening to him from this point, because that's a level of dishonesty that I would never expect from him. Hopefully, he didn't say it like that. No, well, God, Meltzer's going to be disappointed in him.
Oh, no.
Woe is me.
I hope Bischoff doesn't kill himself.
Right? He really needs to. Yeah, he needs to
drop your knee and say Hail Mary.
Yeah, give your soul to the Lord because your ass is Dave's. And then Meltzer said, obviously he made him an offer in 1996. I can't believe he'd deny that, because that would be a whopper of proportions that even Pritchard hasn't reached. Because apparently Bruce Pritchard is the bar of liars, I guess. The November 17th, 1997 Observer details the whole Hart WWF WCW situation in 96 and 97. Bret's book does as well. Well, God, if, Bret's book, who, which sits there and strokes Bret's ego for however many pages, and if the Observer says it, well, then by God, that's the God's gospel truth.
I like how we've already heard Bret's book and the Wrestling Observer plugged in this.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It gets worse. Yeah, another tweeter. I didn't write down these Twitter handles, by the way, because I didn't really give that much of a crap. Somebody said, and it's not the whole tweet, it's just the body of it here. He said, basically, or he, as in Eric Bischoff, basically said Bret and Barry Bloom, who is his lawyer, used you to work Vince via dropping the info that he'd be meeting up with Eric. And Dave Meltzer replied in 2 tweets, because one just wasn't good enough, Greg. He's got to get all the info in there.
Of course.
He said, how could that be the case when Vince and Bruce Pritchard both called me on the subject to complain about how the... If any of you have ever listened to Bruce Pritchard's show, you'll find that hilarious.
That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah. Both called me on the subject to complain about how the offer to Bret was so high that they couldn't afford to match it before I ever wrote about it. Bret's book is the honest version. Good grief. Then his second tweet said, also, Barry Bloom never called me, and Bret sure as hell never called me, since Bret and I weren't even on speaking terms for another year. But it's best to leave the subject alone, because he's just trying to get attention to build a show. Yeah. Just, wow.
What show?
The arrogance. The effing arrogance. It's just... of epic proportions here.
Yeah, I mean, you have this news, the first person you go to is him?
Well, yeah, because, Bischoff called him a liar, so they want to get him started up and see what bullcrap is going to spew off of his Twitter. But then again, some of these people aren't just cranking his chain just to see him go. Some of these people are actually pissed themselves because they worship the ground Dave Meltzer lies on. Oh my gosh. Somebody else said, Bischoff says that you're lying, and so is Bret. Who to believe? Meltzer replied and said, it could just be that he's looking to get attention for the show by me giving him some by saying crazy stuff. Really, best to ignore him after this. Wow.
Oh, after this?
Yeah, well, Meltzer said we need to ignore Eric Bischoff, Greg, so we best listen to Uncle Dave. I'm no longer going to be subscribed to the 83 Weeks podcast. F that.
I wish you were joking.
Yeah. Somebody else said, and I got the main part of it here. It's not the full tweet. Said Bischoff basically said that Bret's book was a lie, that it had been ghostwritten, and he was just a mid-card jabroni who never drew. First of all, Bischoff didn't say any of that. He did say Bret's book was full of crap, and he said it was either Bret was just pumping himself up with a bunch of lies and, arrogance and whatever, or it was ghostwritten by a big fan who wanted to make Bret look amazing. But he didn't come right out and say it had to have been ghostwritten. And he never once called him a mid-card jabroni who never drew. He said his drawing power wasn't what Bret thought it was, but he didn't say he never drew and that he was a mid-carder.
Oh, he never drew a dime, so.
Wow. Oh, that was another thing I forgot to say.
You get 1,000 sharpshooters, man. Never drew a dime.
Yeah. Well, somebody tweeted Dave and said, it was a Mike Graham that said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they referenced that where he said, Jarrett broke 1,000 guitars, never drew a dime, and they were like, so what was Mike's drawing power, then? And Meltzer replied and said, about as much as Jarrett's.
Wow.
I'm like, that's effed up. Like, people actually know who Jeff Jarrett is. No, not to speak ill of the dead, but good grief. But anyway, after that tweet about, what they just read, Meltzer replied and said, just because Eric's book was that doesn't mean that he should project it on people's books who actually documented everything they did every day into a recorder. Which tells me two things. One, Meltzer is saying that Eric's book was ghostwritten and full of crap and lies. And he says that, like I was talking to you earlier, apparently Bret Hart carried around a damn tape recorder and he documented his freaking every move from every day into this damn thing.
Paranoid much?
It's freaking weird. Like, who does this? Unless you're doing a project.
Someone with like OCD?
I guess. It's like, today I decided to use skim milk on my cereal instead of 2%. I'll get back to you later.
No real reason, I just did it.
Yeah. Soy milk is just water that's lying about being milk. Anyway, wow. Somebody else tweeted and said, I like how you never get upset and just laugh off these Bruce Pritchard and Eric Bischoff BS stories. Oh, well, since Dave calls them BS, they have to be BS.
Yep.
Dave replied and he said, I can't get mad at Bruce. I find him funny, but I am amazed that people believe him. I thought Eric was way above this. This was Russo level. Deal is Bret has ripped Eric's knowledge of wrestling for decades, and he's lashing back, but shouldn't kill his own cred in the process. Good grief. So he finds Bruce Pritchard entertaining but full of crap, and he finds Eric just full of crap at a level of Vince Russo. You've got to be kidding me.
Man, this is the worst soap opera ever.
And it played out on Twitter.
Well, of course, where else would it play out on? TV?
Yeah, screw that. I get my stories from the Twitters. My fire-breathing Twitter machine.
Bro.
Somebody said, if you thought Bruce Pritchard was rough on Dave Meltzer on Something to Wrestle With, you have to hear the Bret Hart episode of 83 Weeks. And Dave said, can you imagine that there are people who actually believe this stuff? Don't be so naive. Wow. Yeah.
Why? People believe him.
Yeah, if it didn't come from the mouth of Dave Meltzer or Brian Alvarez, it's not real. So says Dave Meltzer. So it is written in the Observer, so it shall come to pass. All hail Messiah Dave. Kalima. I just threw in a Temple of Doom reference. Whatever. Somebody said, did you have any sources other than Bret on this, referring to the alleged contract offer in 1996? Dave Meltzer said, 6 minimum, well 7 if you include my own eyes. So why is Dave Meltzer seeing contracts, is my question.
Well, because he's a god, and you show him everything.
I'm sure
bow down to him.
I'm sure Bruce Pritchard showed him that as well. Vince was like, come in, Dave, pull up a seat. Let's talk 5-star matches. And Japan. Somebody tweeted and said, I'll choose to trust first-hand accounts, not second-hand accounts. Dave Meltzer said, when the first-hand guys are exposed over and over again of making up stories, you'd be pretty stubborn and silly this week after all that has come out to stick with that viewpoint. How often you like being lied to? Well, how often does he read the Observer? Yeah, right. Wow. Whoa, don't trust those guys. They were there, okay? I just heard about it and wrote it down. It's infuriating.
Well, that's good enough for me. I carry a pen.
Yeah, like it's infuriating. Well, reading is your friend, Greg. Remember that. So says Dave Meltzer.
I told you, it sounds like a Sesame Street limerick.
Yeah.
Reading is my friend.
At least he doesn't say, the more you know.
Yeah, but he does say plans changed.
Yeah, quite often, to the point of where it's a running effing joke. And this was the last one I got here. Twitter user tweeted, Bret takes himself way too seriously. And apparently that pissed off Dave because he said, too bad for people who don't understand the big picture and motivations. Every top guy took themselves too seriously. That's why they became top guys and weren't just mid-card good mechanics. Wow. I guess. I mean, yeah, there is a case of people who took themselves way too seriously and were top guys, but The Rock was a top guy, and I don't recall him acting anything like Bret Hart.
Oh, who does?
Yeah. Ric Flair took himself, fairly seriously as like a legitimate, wrestler or whatever, but he's not at the level of Bret Hart, and Rick may be the greatest of all time.
According to Bret.
Yeah, well, don't say that around Bret Hart, because by God, he's all he can do is chop, woo, and suck. So,
wow.
Hey, so says Bret Hart, man. I trust Bret. All right, Bret and his book of gloom, doom, and I'm Superman, and you all suck.
4 out of 10 stars.
Oh, man, I can't remember who it was I was listening to that they were laughing at the fact that he rated that Hell in a Cell match, a 4 out of 10.
Yep. Oh, man. Watch it. I knew everything was going to happen before it happened.
Yeah.
I laid it out, and it all happened.
Yeah. So flippin' what? Just because you can lay out...
what? That implies that you think he actually was not lying.
Well, even if he did lay it out in his brain, and he's that good where he's, thinking of these spots or whatever, so what? Did it work? Was it a good match? Did it all come together? Answer is yes.
Nope.
Well, because that was one thing Bruce Pritchard was talking about, because I was listening to his review of the 1992 Royal Rumble, and he said he watched it before actually doing the watch-along on the podcast, and he said, this was a really good Royal Rumble. He was like, I got really into it, started calling spots, whatever, before they happened, whatever. He was like, not that I'm saying, well, that means something, but he's like, usually when I'm sitting there calling spots, it means it's a really good match. And it's like, apparently it means the opposite if you're Bret Hart. If he's calling spots, this match sucks. I don't know. What is his definition of a good match?
I don't know, man. I actually said the same thing. Here's the thing. It's like, you go back and watch a couple of his matches side by side, some of them tend to be the same. So...
Some of them, yeah. I mean, I will say this. I think Bret had a good knack for... He wasn't too repetitive. I mean, yeah, he had his 5 moves of doom that he repeated, in every match, but in different order. But all in all, I thought he was fairly good at, telling stories in the ring and doing that kind of stuff. But, come on, dude. I don't know. He acts like, certain people. Ric Flair drew a lot of money, didn't hurt a lot of people, if anybody, and, he was great at what he did. He looked believable. Some of the stuff he did was silly, like the flipping in the corner and the face flop and whatever, but it was still entertaining, and it got a big pop from the crowd, so why not keep it up? It wasn't like he was flipping people with his penis like certain guys nowadays who shall remain nameless.
Oh, my God. Yeah. You want to talk about ruining wrestling?
Hey, man, if there's one guy in the history of wrestling that probably could flip you with his penis, Ric Flair, all right? Just putting that out there. But yeah, I guess because Bret Hart went out before and said that Triple H isn't even in the top 1,000 of wrestlers in history. And I can't remember who. It was the same person that was making fun of his 4 out of 10 thing. And they were like, come on, Bret. They were like, I can't even think of 1,000 wrestlers. And he was like, the fact that you're not putting Triple H in that discussion, he was like, get over it. I know you don't like the guy, but just grow up.
He never will, man.
I know. Like,
he just can't get over the fact, and it sucks. Don't get me wrong, but he can't get over the fact, like, you know, he got out when he did.
Yeah. Even if he didn't get out when he did, he was a miserable SOB before that.
I mean, look what Shawn Michaels did after, you know, he was out. You know, The Undertaker's still going. Triple H is almost still going.
Yeah.
It's like, we get it. You're depressed, but damn, dude.
I know. What? You know, I hate to say it this way, but with the tragedies that have befallen the Hart family, he should just be thanking God he's still alive.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there are two families that dark clouds follow in the wrestling business, and his is number 2 behind the Von Erich family.
Yep.
So, I don't know, man. It's just... what the hell ever. I don't know. Bret will always be one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, but, you know, like Eric Bischoff said, it's like he wasn't, you know, if he was such a huge draw, WWF would have been beating WCW when he was champion, but they weren't. And I'm not going to put the whole focus on Bret and blame it all on him, but, I mean, come on.
Well, what does Meltzer say?
Yeah. Well, oddly enough, Meltzer kind of agreed with Bischoff on that. He said he was a draw, but moderately. And this was another thing. Conrad had asked Bischoff. He said, because Bret claims that Bischoff wanted to bring him in for, quote, Hogan money. And he was like, did you bring him in for Hogan money? He's like, no, that wasn't even a consideration. He was like, no way in hell. Like,
well, clearly he's not going to make it back.
Well, yeah, because he was like, as it was, he was paying him like $2.5 million over 3 years. Like, he admitted to that one. And he was like, Conrad asked me, he was like, did you honestly think you'd see a return investment on $2.5 million over 3 years? He was like, figured I'd get some mileage out of him, you know, sure, why not? So I don't know. And Bischoff poked a hole in Bret's, 1996 contract offer because he said, well, Bischoff said he would ask Hall and Nash to waive their that clause in their contract. I can't remember the clause now, but basically the thing where nobody can be paid more than them.
Favored nations.
Yeah, favored nations. And he said, now see, that's bullcrap right there, because he said they didn't have a favored nations clause in 1996. That was when they re-upped later on. He's like, so that right there just discredits everything he just said about that contract deal. But nope. Apparently Pritchard and Vince McMahon himself freaking called Dave Meltzer and proved it. So, whatever. Had to run it by Messiah Dave.
Messiah Dave.
All hail. Oh, man. I wish I was joking about all this. But yeah, anyway, this was a little depressing, but fun and hilarious. I'm glad we did this episode.
All real, by the way.
Yeah, unfortunately. Don't remind me of that. But yeah, Monday we will be coming at you with the news, bro. And, wrong podcast. And Wednesday, we will be coming at you with a new list. It is the top 10 annoying habits of professional wrestling. It's going to be a thinker for me. But, yeah, thank you for joining.
I hate it when people don't wear fanny packs over their chunk.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, another freaking reference. Damn it, dude. I'm going to start jamming tugboat references into these podcasts just for the hell of it. All right, man. Well, thank you for joining me on this podcast, Wrestling Extra.
Yeah, it was something.
Yeah, it was something, all right. We'll come at you Monday with the news. Later.
Later.
This has been a Drama City production.